Hi, Chris here with another fat wheeled e-bike. This time it's a 20-inch size one with the 4-inch wide tires, and it's foldable. So that means it folds in half here, the frame. The handlebars also drop down, making it a lot smaller than other bikes, and it's very convenient that you can now store this, say, under a stairwell, fit it into tighter spaces where you just can't other bikes. It's from a company called PVY. I've reviewed one of their bikes before, and this model is the Z20 Plus. Our motor, which is in the rear hub, it's a 48-volt system, and it's up to 1,000 watts peak, so it has plenty of power, this model. These tires are from Chaoyang. I see a lot of Chaoyang tires. In fact, all of the e-bikes recently that are fat-wheeled all seem to use this brand. They're not bad, they're knobbly tires, so they're designed really for off-road. They make a lot of road noise when you're riding. I kind of like that because people do hear you coming, but they have very poor rolling resistance to them. You see, we do have metal mud guards. It comes with a bike rack and a rear light. Now, this tail light here is two-stage, and it does have indicators in it. Now, they're a little hard to make out in the daytime, those indicators, but at night you can see them. No surprise with the setup of our gears. So it's Shimano's Tourney, so this is very bottom end, and this is what most of the bikes are using, either that or the Dior or Altus. And the chain, this one is a Tech Power brand chain, so not the typical KMC chains that I see on these bikes. So front crank here does have a plastic chain guard. This is to stop it from coming off. The pedals, they're not Welgo, they're no brand pedals. They seem to be okay. And you see I've got a key dangling here. That's because you need it in the actual bike, locked into place and turned on when you are riding. So the battery is non-removable if it's locked there into place. And when you pull the key out, no one can just go along and open the bike up and then slot out that battery. That's the whole idea of it. The key is also an ignition switch for it. The bike has a full suspension setup, and our rear shock, this is a no brand rear shock. It's got approximately 20 millimeters of travel. It does something, and is certainly better than having no rear shock. PVY selected a very wide seat. Now, it does have springs in it, and the style of it almost looks like those old-fashioned motorcycle seats. It is very comfortable, but the width of it did take a while for me to get used to. The bike does not have a quick release front hub. The only quick release you'll find is the seat post. So the brakes, these are no brand brakes. They're hydraulic at least, 160 millimeter, and they do perform well, as you'll see later on in the video when I do my emergency brake test. Our front shock here is a no brand one, which is very common with these style of bikes around this price range. You sometimes maybe get a Sun Tour, but you'll never find a Rock Shock or a Fox. Now for travel, it has about 45 millimeters that I've calculated according to the grease marks here. There's adjustable preload, and you can lock it out completely. So this front headlight is very common. I've seen it used across various different brands. It's got 4 LEDs in it. It is powerful. I do like it. It does the job, and it will light the path up ahead of you when you're riding at night. The latch mechanism for the fold is the same as others. Now, I've washed the bike, and this little security latch here that you need to push forward first already has a little bit of surface rust on it, which is not great. We're not off to a good start there. So you simply pull that forward and then open the latch, and you can proceed then to part the bike in half and fold it. And doing so then gives us access to the removable battery. So the capacity of it is 16.5 amp hours or 792 watt hours. Then folding the handlebar down, you've got this little security that slides in and slots into the side of the handle to stop it from dropping down. Not that that should happen. You just simply need to pull on it, and then the handlebars collapse, drop down to one side. So this is what it looks like when you do fold it up completely. It makes the bike so much smaller. And this is the key reason why you'd be buying this bike, is because you need it to be a lot smaller for stowing it away, perhaps in winter if you don't ride, or to fit it in the trunk or boot of a car. On the right, we've got our gear selector, so that's to go up, then down the gears. There's the throttle, and they aren't using lock grips. So see this style of cheap hand grips on all of these bikes. There are a few rare occasions you do get the lock grips with them. On the left, our tail light, headlight on and off. The horn, which is very loud. It's one of the loudest, or up there with the others. And this is to select the left and right indicators, which are only on the rear. Now, these plastics used here, they do feel a little bit cheap. We've got our power on to cycle through the different modes of the screen, and up and down our pedal assist levels. The screen is a color display. It gives you all the key information you'd want. So your pedal assist levels, your speed, the battery life is at the top, and we've got voltage, trip meter, odometer, and amps. You can view all of that. Now it's actually a lot brighter than what I'm showing here on video. You can make it out in direct sunlight and at night too. It is backlit. Sorry, there is another quick release, and that's for the handlebar height. So you can easily raise and lower that handlebar, and you can get it at that height where you're not bent over. So it's a very comfortable bike to ride on. No torque sensor with the Z20 Plus. It's using a speed sensor like most of these bikes. So just what is it like to ride the Z20 Plus here? Well, the fat wheels make it comfortable. The frame is quite low, so it's very easy to get on. Almost as easy as a step-through design with it. And that kickstand, well, it does support the weight of the bike just fine. I've had no problems with it. It doesn't feel like it's going to fall over. They've got the angle pretty much right bang on there of how you want that kickstand to be. Now, when you are riding it, it's an upright position. I do have plenty of room for my knees. So I'll just show you what it's like to get onto this bike too now, because it's very easy. So you can just get your leg over. There's nothing in the way there. And then I don't even need to pedal. I'm just going to use now the throttle to go up this. I can start to pedal now too. It's got so much power just to tackle this climb here with no issues. Pedaling, more or less the same story, about the same speed it can get up to. The more I pedal, the faster it starts to get to in this climb. So excellent climbing performance with the Z20 Plus. So braking test now, 160mm hydraulic disc brakes from 30 kilometers per hour. Whoa. Locking up that rear. So I did slide a little bit, that did not help, but overall, good brakes. I don't know what brand they are because there's no markings on them whatsoever, but they do seem to perform well. There's plenty of bite with the brake pads too, so I can comfortably brake at safe distances. So what's our top speed like of the bike? If you get it in the 7th gear, which of course is our highest gear here, and pedal away, you can get up to around about 30 kilometers per hour. Going over that, especially if you don't have the motor on to assist you, does start to get very difficult because of only the 20-inch size wheels. So this is very bumpy paving. It's all over the place, up and down. You can hear the chain slapping about a little bit, but it's very comfortable, and the seat too, because it's got the springs in there, makes it quite comfortable. Now the weight of this bike, it's 22 kilos, and it does cater to rider heights of 155 centimeters up to 200. Overall, PVY has an excellent bike here. I really can't fault it. The suspension, the nice spongy fat tires, very nice soft seat to it as well. The fact that you can raise up the handlebars, it's very comfortable. Good braking performance, even though they're no brand brakes, they do work really well. And the range, well, they say up to 120 kilometers from a single charge. I'm not able to get that. I'm looking at about 60, 65. That's what I can get out of the 16.5 amp hour battery. There's only really one area of minor criticism from me with this bike here, and that's the speed sensor, that sometimes when you stop pedaling, it still goes for a second or two later, normally about a second. It doesn't cut out straight away. So that's it. I really wish it did have a torque sensor. Other than that, the Z20 Plus here is a fantastic foldable 20-inch fat wheeled e-bike.